But I'm here to tell everyone that London deserves its fate, is my point, rather than just my opinion on that. And I can prove it.
That is an opinion, but I agree with it, so I'll let it go.
I can prove that they deserve it as well, because...
I just need you to prove it.
No, you already hate them. So.
Exactly, yeah.
So I lived there for 20 years and could see the way it was going and thought, yeah, it's time to get out. But yeah, if you've got the mathematical proof as to why it's falling apart, then yeah, let's see it.
This is why I did my physics degree, it's to prove that London deserves to be put into the Hades of Mordor.
There probably is a mathematical proof of this as well, actually. Sorry.
I can think of the terms, I just can't say them on this podcast.
Anyway, we shall begin by just promoting something on Lotus.com, being the census data proves Britain is not a nation of immigrants.
Yeah.
Because well, there we are, mathematical proof. All right.
Yeah, that's all.
You asked for it, there it is.
I had an argument on Twitter the other day with some guy who was like, look, London has always been 40% immigrant. And it's just like, what? No. I mean, literally, like, if you go back to 1961.
Well, if you include the Scots?
No, no, not including the Scots, actually.
Right.
Non-British immigrants. And if you go back to like 1941, as I do in that article, you can see that there were only 1.5 million immigrants in all of the United Kingdom, and 500,000 of those were Irish. So London could not have been 40%. If they were all congregated in London, it would still only be about 8% or 10% or something. So it's just like, anyway.
Yes, fair point.
Don't worry, now everything is fine, because now we have more immigrants, which means more good. We'll begin with just some data points real quick. I don't know, maybe someone's joining us and is like, London, I thought that was a great place. No.
Best country in the world. Best city in the world, according to Sadiq Khan.
It is the best country.
It's certainly a country, isn't it?
Look, for people who don't know, I mean, at this point, culturally, if nothing else, I mean, London is just a foreign land compared to the rest of England. And, well... even in the data, but you can check that out in the previous article, as mentioned. We'll have just some points about the current leader of the Raj. We have Sadiq Khan here, who is the mayor. And just as people talk about him, nothing is ever good. I never see a single good statement about him, except people who like bikes. Bike lanes, people seem to like him for that.
So
and that
Jeremy Vine is praising Sadiq Khan's
I don't
tenure over London.
Want to be on that team. Yeah. So, but you can see here just a graph, crime, Sadiq Khan becomes mayor, and everything gets better because the line is going up. So, well, more good.
But this is very interesting because previously it was Boris, and Boris was very strong on stop and search. And Sadiq Khan, part of his campaign was literally him cross-armed being like, I'm going to end stop and search because it's racist.
Right.
Stopping crime is racist, says the mayor. Right. His words. But every story about London is some hellscape story. Not just this one, but I mean like this one here, where we found out that like a significant portion of the London police force were illiterate because they didn't want to hire white men. I mean, that's just not what you want to hear when you're a victim of crime, is it?
Considering the job of the policeman is mostly basically filling out forms in triplicate, this seems like an obstacle.
These days, yeah.
But it shouldn't be, should it? It should be just cracking the skulls of burglars.
It's not even that, though, is it? I mean, if it was either or, it would make sense.
Yeah.
But there's also just the state propaganda. We've mentioned this before, so I won't read the whole thing again. It's the colonization in reverse thing that's on the tube. I was actually there on Friday when I was walking around. It's not just this one.
Oh, is it not?
There's a whole bunch of different poems that have been put up, and they are all the same.
Brilliant.
It's just, isn't it wonderful that England's no longer English? And that's all over the tubes. Every single tube I went on, I could see at least one of them. Not to mention just the general stuff. I mean, even before this, everyone has been on the tube, and you've seen posters that are like, hate crimes no longer tolerated, as if it was before. Or you'll have a thing that's the word immigrant, and then a lady looking smart, and the word im will be in red to be like I'm, and there'll be some advert for learning English or some crap. So, weird immigration adverts or promotions from companies or the state, just all the time.
And just catering to the demographic, though.
Not to mention this, which is new. I mean, we can see here, this is Sadiq Khan tweeting out, all aboard for Pride. And he has decided to spend a lot of money on rainbowing the buses and the trains. Of course, not with the traditional conservative pride flag, but instead with the racial one, including the trans flag colours. I don't know at what point he would stop with the number of colours.
Whenever Sadiq Khan tweets about pride, I always feel more Islamically orthodox.
I do wonder how his compatriots feel about it.
Well, they can't be thrilled about it. I mean, there was a mayor of Keighley, thank you, people correcting me, who had to apologise for putting up the pride flag because he was a Muslim.
Did you see the other day when we were talking about the submarine, you said it was the Pacific Ocean?
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, I meant Atlantic.
There we are. It's just to make me laugh.
Slip of the tongue.
Anyway, but Okay, great. More average London things, I suppose.
What I love
which
is
just
the
state
diversity
propaganda.
of the people on there, though. Like old Jamaican black guy, he loves Pride. Big fan of Pride. He's just always been a big fan of Pride. You know?
That fella there, the Sikh,
Yeah.
and then the Muslim champ next to him.
Best buddies.
And then they've got a guy next to him who looks a bit camp. So I'm sure all three of them are the best friends, and they all go to Soho together.
I know a number of Sikh guys, and their political views would pale even us in this office when it comes to this sort of stuff.
Yeah, but that's like the political views of literally everything outside of the West.
Yes.
It's just completely normal political views for every non-Westerner.
So
yes.
what's that? About 80% of the human population?
Yeah.
But we think we're special. Okay. Yeah. But that's not the only thing I wanted to check out. I wanted to also check out the people who are behind this. I don't know if we can. It doesn't seem to follow for some reason. I don't know if I've broken the machine, John. I'm pressing next and it's not going next.
Oh,
but the point being, I wanted to also show the people involved, which was just the next link, which is the fact that, well, of course, they're all government employees, as usual. Just randos. You can see here some guy called Seb, someone called Nightzar. Not a real name.
Seeing a lot of white women in that lineup.
Yeah. But they're all paid to be there, is the point.
Yeah. But the following example we can see, so we'll just check out Steve Khan. Of course, all their salaries are publicly available. 150 grand for him. The next guy, Seb, it's 132 grand.
Jesus.
And the next lady here, 116 grand.
That's a lot of Gregs you can buy for that.
I tell you, she looks worth every penny, doesn't she?
I mean, I hate to be rude. I mean, that guy is also just obviously stealing in terms of having a job here. I mean, it's ridiculous levels of cash for people who do what exactly? This is their crowning achievement. What have I done? I put a rainbow on a bus. Wow, great. Thanks. You're saving the world. But it's not just that. He's also having a tough time recently. The local viceroy. Here you can see he did a thing where he was like, I'm lighting up the lights in my office for solidarity with European Londoners.
European Londoners. Just think about that word. European Londoners.
Yes.
I hate this so much.
His primary concern is EU citizens who are identifying with the EU and not England, but live in London for some reason.
He's talking about French and German people who live in London.
Yes.
They're not Londoners. They're French and German. Londoners used to be English. Like, that's what Londoner meant.
But you can clearly see the distinction in his mind. There was a time, and we probably all think this, that London should be the capital of England. Whereas he thinks it should be a global capital.
Yes.
It is just one of a number of global global capitals.
And therefore, you can have a bunch of French and German Londoners, and there's no contradiction in his mind. You know?
It's funny you say that.
They're English Parisians. It's just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's funny you say all that. Because his response, and you might wonder, why the hell are you turning on purple lights in your office? It's not exactly the usual thing you do. Why not put up an EU flag or something? That seems more like you, right?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Well, it turns out he was banned from doing that. So this is on LBC, where he did an interview with James O'Brien. So, million IQ.
Just sat there sad the government won't let me put my EU flag. No, they won't, Sadiq, you proud European.
So this is him whining. I don't know if there's subtitles. There they are. He's whining because usually he's allowed to put up the Pride flag or the Commonwealth flag or the UN flag. And he's like, and also I'm allowed to put up all the other countries' flags when there's a national tragedy, like in New Zealand, which is the thing comes to mind for him. And he's like, but why can't I fly the EU flag? And even James O'Brien is sat there like, well, we are in the UN and the Commonwealth. Well, not in the EU.
We did specifically vote to leave the EU.
Yeah, he then goes on to whine about how it's barbaric that we've done such a thing, but it's just
barbaric.
Amazing to see he's still there whining. So I can't put them in the EU flag. And the one good thing the government did is tell Sadiq Khan you can't virtue signal on one thing.
You can't fly the flag of the rival empire that we've just left. And Sadiq's like,
I know it's a small
damn.
victory. I mean, this is the weird thing about being on the right. It's just like, man, he said that a woman doesn't have a penis. Man, he said that we can't fly the enemy's flag.
Look at J.K. Rowling. Yeah. It's
amazing. But there's more, of course, because he also decided to head on over and do a tweet recently. Remember this?
Oh, yeah. If you scroll down, you'll probably see my reply.
God,
I
community
ratioed
noted.
him about 10-1.
Oh, no. We have far more important things to dab on him with.
To be fair, you can do that on almost any of Sadiq Khan's tweets. I'm always under there. It's like, shut up, Sadiq.
Is he like your Tom Harwood now? You're just bullying him?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, totally. I'm surprised he hasn't
Good.
blocked me, actually.
But anyway,
blocked me.
This is the local viceroy saying that the city was built by migrants, by refugees, in the same way that, like, I don't know, the viceroy of India might have said that the Raj was built by the British and you should be grateful, you mother... Anyway, but this guy...
That's totally fair.
Suffice to say, in the face of hostile, blah, 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 immigration policies.
Hostile, draconian, and immoral immigration policies.
We're only letting in 1 million people a year.
Such as asking for a passport sometimes. If you don't have one, if you come illegally, that's fine.
Draconian rubber stamping of every application that comes across their desk.
Yeah. I mean,
Shut up, Sadiq.
Do you not remember the story of Draco of Greece? Where
Draconian comes from? Yeah.
He used to, I believe he legalized all crime. That was the story.
No, actually, it was the opposite. All crime was the death penalty.
Strange. So maybe
if only we were taking inspiration from Draco.
But for some reason we're not. And the community notes here, I have to mention because he's taking a battering recently, just publicly on every lie he tells. Is my point. You can see here the city of London was founded around the year 50. It was built up over nearly 2,000 years by people we today call the English. I love it's third person as well.
Yeah.
It was not built by migrants, refugees, but by those native to the British Isles. Source, cityoflondon.gov. Your own fucking website.
But that's the thing. My reply to this was just, Sadiq, this is such a demonstrable and provable. Oh, there we go. 5-to-1 ratio. That is an obvious and provable lie. It's like, why would you say something that's such obviously a lie? You know, what would be the motive? Like, I would never come out and be like, yeah, so, you know, well, I don't know. I can't even think of a lie so obviously wrong.
Well, it's not meant to be a lie, is it? It's a new narrative. I mean,
well, that's the point.
It's a fiction. So, like, Homer Simpson is yellow. I mean, that's a fiction. It's not a truth or a lie. It's not real.
No, but it is true. The fictional character Homer Simpson is yellow. That's true.
Sure, but if you draw him as green, for example, and then said, "Oh, he's green," well, it's not.
But there's a fundamental difference in how you use language. So you use language to describe the world that has been, and that you perceive.
Yeah.
Leftists use language to describe the world that they want to bring into being because they think that it has originating action.
That's completely correct. Yeah.
And that's the point I was trying to make. Because if you look at a nation, anyone on earth, there's a national fiction about why we exist, our justification. For example, the Saudis, it's the kingdom and Islam. If you go to the Iranians, it's the fact that we're a theocracy and divided by God and blah, blah, blah. For the UK, I mean, our one is meant to be that God himself picked the king or queen, and therefore that power comes from that, and we live under them and try and serve them. I mean, that is our founding myth in terms of the monarchy, the United Kingdom we live under. But of course, you could get an ethnic one as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's long and complex. And
yeah, I'm trying to simplify it real quick.
Right, okay.
I'm not going to sit here for 20 minutes trying to explain the founding
myth.
It
all started in Winchester, and then we beat the Vikings.
No, we all went to the pub. But my point being that...
No, that's not the narrative. The mythological narrative is... really complex, and Hengst and Horser are fighting with Vortigern, and exactly. It would go on. But
my only reason for bringing this up was just to point out that's what he's doing.
Right.
He's creating a new fiction on which he can build his life.
Oh, okay.
So
right,
it's not a lie. It is literally something he's making up for the reason why the city of London exists.
I'm actually brought to mind of Caraticus when he gets finally defeated by the Romans. The Romans drag him back to Rome, and he's looking at their massive marble buildings like, why do you want our tents? We literally live in tents. And that's where Sadiq Khan has arrived at. It's like the migrants built London, all these giant buildings. Yeah, because before that, the English were living in tents. And we've come here to save you from poverty.
Speaking of, though, people's commentary on that was pretty good. London was built by refugees. The refugees, picture here.
Yeah, I had people saying this to me. Oh, the Italian migrants. The Romans were not Italian migrants.
There were some other pesky Brits who were... keep bringing up photographic evidence of the opposite being the case.
Video cameras existed.
Yeah, strange. I thought before 1948 there was nothing, literally zero. But it's not the only thing. It's also, I wanted to point out just the knife crime thing, which we have before. That increase in crime from earlier seems to only happen in certain areas. You can guess what the colours on that graph mean in your own time, I suppose. I'm trying not to leave any hints.
It's a map, okay.
Generally as well, like Sadiq Khan is hated. I mean, like the ULEZ scheme. I mean, if you ever want to talk to anyone about London at the moment, everything just seems to be about the ULEZ scheme. This is the ultra-low emission zone in London, which used to be, as you can see, a tiny red dot. So if you entered there and you didn't have an ultra-low emissions car, you had to pay £12.50. Okay? And then they expanded it to this blue one, which is, pretty big. And then they want to expand it to the green one, which is literally the whole freaking city.
So this is what I keep trying to explain to people about 15-minute cities, is it's not going to be these little flower planters forever. That's just the foot in the door, and then it's going to expand from there.
So if you want to leave your parking space literally ever to go anywhere, you have to pay £12.50. £12.50, please. I mean,
it's such a grift.
Yeah,
it's such a grift.
The polling on this, I believe, is 80% of Londoners oppose this plan.
But the thing is, this again, if the left were in any way honest, they'd be like, well, hang on a second, isn't this just a way of penalising the poor? Because the rich, of course, can afford to pay £12.50. Of
course it is.
And so this will affect them in no way, shape, or form.
But for some reason, if you go and check out the polling on the next mayoral elections, there you are. Yeah. No impact whatsoever. No matter what Sadiq Khan does, no matter how stupid it is, no matter how much of a lie or frankly hostile fiction he makes up about the new world order he's creating, or just petty things such as destroying everyone's wealth with the ULEZ scheme. No impact. Zero. Londoners just keep on loving him for some reason, according to the poll at least.
Londoners.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because, well, I don't know what I've done there. Apparently the button is broken. Okay.
That's trippy.
John, can you fix that, please?
The button's not stuck on my end. It's just... No, the buttons are fine, but they're not.
No, I'm not touching it.
There we are. The electronics are broken yet again.
Okay.
Anyway, the thing I was going to show was just there was a local woman who had some wrong think.
Right.
So we're just going to deal with that. Till we can fix it. But so this is... she decided to tweet one day, living in London, I get homesick for England. It's not ours anymore. It's not British.
Oh, this is...
Not stuck.
It's not stuck and the buttons aren't responding now. So...
I don't know if the audience can see what's happening for the screen.
Technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. Where are we getting there?
She's sitting next on Max. But I can't remember her name now. Alexander Phillips? I think
yeah, it's the woman from GB.
It's in there in the middle. If you can find it. Anyway, but she decided to do that, and she got a lot of trouble. Like, this tweet got 10 million views. Just blew up amazingly. And it wasn't blowing up amongst the right, talking about, so true.
So what did she say?
She said that London is no longer England. She gets homesick.
She gets homesick for England, and London's no longer ours.
She gets homesick for England living in London.
Yeah. But the way she says it, London is no longer ours, is the thing. So it's as in she's appealing from within the frame of being a part of an ethnicity and saying, well, this is territory that has been ceded to the global order.
Like Kosovo or something. Yeah. It's gone from Serbia. It's no longer part of us.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I wonder if we can get to the tweet in question. I think it's a few along there. Yeah, 2 more along, and then I think we're there. John? Oh, never mind. Whatever. Yeah. The thing is, I saw the end.
We're tweet from Alexander, somebody.
Right, it's back. This is
3 more. There we are. That's the tweet in question I was talking about, as you can see.
Trying to break it again.
This is an NPC response. Just to check. Someone decided to ask a robot to write response. Sorry to burst your bubble, but England has always been diverse and ever changing. Perhaps it's time to embrace the present rather than cling to the romanticized past.
That's weird because I don't think England has always been ever changing. It's basically been the same for the last 1,000 years.
It's kind of the meme about it.
Yeah.
Well, hang on. That literally was a bot response, wasn't it?
Yes, that is an automated bot response there.
Because we know what they're going to say.
And
it's always the same response.
We automated the lefties. We don't need them anymore.
Here's a real lefty.
In fact, when we get to my segment, that's exactly what they are. They're literally NPCs who are programmed like bots.
But speaking of which, real life here. Yeah. This guy came out. London has always been diverse. If you don't like it, leave it. We'll miss you. I mean, and then there's another guy here who threw a hissy. I don't have time to go through his hissy fit, but he really did. I forget his name. We see him quite often, just being like, everything's great in London. It's like, really? Why does everyone keep leaving? Local Indian nationalists from LBC turned up as well. I'm sorry to say. Yes. You really need to get a better grip of geography if you think London isn't in England. Caved in brain.
No, this is amazing. This is amazing. How did England get its name Sanjita? Right, and it's because it was the geographic location that the English occupied.
You're wasting your breath, man.
And so if the English don't occupy the location, it stops being England. She's not going to listen.
Well, anyway, a local London resident decided to ask what even is British culture.
Who can tell? Nina Chowdhury.
Yeah, local Pakistani was arguing that, well, what even is British culture? You don't know, do you? And it's not a surprise. You don't really know. How would you know? Was it 5 London boroughs? Over 1 in 2 people is foreign.
Yeah, 40% of all of London is first-generation immigrant. 37% English.
Last 20 years, just got off a plane.
So that was last year's number.
But I mean, the population is so new.
Yeah.
It's unbelievably new.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a GIF here from Wikipedia, which just shows like change over time, as you can see here. They have to use race for this GIF because it's the only data that's available in that time. But then it breaks down to white British, as you can see it. There you are. There's the present day.
Wow.
It's almost like something changed in the 1990s, especially. But anyway, we're going to end this off because some guy decided to tweet out something rather wonderful, which is a little thread of a documentary about the worst whites in the East End. And
we covered this in a premium podcast.
I didn't know you did we?
Did it with you, yeah.
It's been so long. Anyway, go and check that out on blowsis.com. But we'll give you a little snapshot into what happened there by playing the following clip, if we can. Yep. Yep.
Eileen and Albert raised their family here, but one by one, they all left the East End.
Andy lives in Somerset, and David lives in Luton, and Lynn, of course, lives in Norfolk. That is why I have to move, because there's nobody here.
The video's not playing for some reason with the audience there. So.
The life that we know is finished. Don't you agree? Yeah. And that's true. Newham's got the biggest immigration population in this country for the size
There's
of what it is.
147 languages in Newham.
That's right.
I'm going home after...
We've lost our community. We're foreigners in our own country now.
Charlotte can't go to this school. No, Charlotte can't go to these schools.
Why not?
I was thinking actually about that, and I was thinking, is this got to do with colour or has it got to do with religion? I was sitting down and I was having a think. I don't want her to forget who she is or where I'm from or her mum's from. I don't want her to forget these things. I think these schools around here will make her lose her identity. You find a nativity play, no more nativity plays. Christmas cards, no more Christmas cards.
I think my children are being exposed to different cultures, different faiths.
Come on, be careful.
So I'm quite happy because they will be more open-minded.
Be careful of the mud, be careful of the mud.
In saying that, I have to say that the British way of life is something they are not experiencing because of lack of British children.
Maybe Sanjita just come along and explain, no, geographically.
You're in England, mate. Don't worry about it. That last chap there was a Bangladeshi immigrant, and he's there with his 4 children. They're taking him to school. And he's like, oh, yeah. They're not getting any English culture here. Maybe I should move. I was just like, okay.
And the thing is that you can imagine the BBC commissioning a documentary going all around the world, speaking to native peoples, being extremely sympathetic to when they say we feel like we're losing our culture.
Oh, we don't need to. We could go to Tibet and China. About a couple of, probably like a decade ago, the big fear was China was going to demographically displace the Tibetans. Yeah. So of course, there are 4 million Tibetans and 1 billion Chinese.
But endless sympathy for other people losing their culture, except for our own.
Yeah.
So this video here, I mean, I loved how the whole thing there ended up with the local immigrant population as well being like, we've lost access to the English population, and then thinking about moving on to find more English population to be amongst. It's like, okay, well, look, there's only so many. As you say, if there's 1 billion Chinese, and everyone wants to be around a Tibetan neighborhood, it ain't going to work. But anyway, that's my point about London, which is I think, provably, I've been able to show that they deserve their fate. If they're going to keep voting for people like Steve Khan, if the polls aren't even going to move at all from the last election, then, I don't know, enjoy. If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content that's on the site, such as the Brokenomics series, this episode on Investing Part 3 with Peter Lowry. If you'd like to find out what else is being put out, you can follow on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.